welcome to Blackoutpod, Binges, Benders, Tales from Rock Bottom. Today, I have a special guest. It's me, bitch. It's me. Fucking, because that's why you listen to this show, because I am amazing. It's not for the guests. It's just for me. This is going to be so fucking weird just talking to myself for an hour. My friend Chappelle Lacey does it, and I think it confirms to me that he's out of his mind. Because he just sits there and says stupid shit for an hour. And he's like, yeah, my producers kind of look at me, but like nothing else. I'm like, all right, well, now we know why you're dangerous. I just want to open by saying also, I saw a man today. He parked his Chrysler 300 at the gas pump, and he left it there without getting gas. So there were people, because this is LA, just sitting and waiting. And then he came out and he opened his door, and it was a Lamborghini door on his Chrysler 300, because that is the most Chrysler 300 owner thing to do ever. And I looked at him like, kind of like, really? And he gave me a look like, yeah, I know you jealous. Like, it's like, what? Like, he thinks that he's reached the peak. Like, he's like, man, you know, it ain't been the same since I threw Lambo doors on the 300. You know what I mean? It's like, fuck, dude. He really thinks he's out here living that life. God bless him. God bless him. I'm trying not to judge. You know what I mean? I'm trying not to judge people. I'm going to try to make this episode a little bit funny, but it's going to be a little bit more, I'm just reflecting. 5 years ago yesterday, I got a DUI. And that kind of began my spiral into rock bottom. And I didn't know you could die from alcohol withdrawal. I didn't know that when I was younger. And so I got this DUI. I talked about it in my first or second episode. I got the DUI. I was in a horrible relationship. And then afterwards, I got on a plane to Seattle to go visit my brother. And I was drinking Jameson and ginger ales on the plane next to my dad, who had just bailed me out of jail. And then I got off the phone with my mom later that trip, where I got drunk and my dad found me in an alley drinking with homeless people. That's not shocking behavior at all. I was drinking in a cipher with homeless people. And I was like, I don't have a fucking problem. I'm just living my life, dude. I'm just a normal 24-year-old man. 23? I don't know. It's normal 23-year-old shit. Just drinking fucking wine with bums in downtown Seattle, where, like, I guess I could have just contracted any number of diseases. But my mom told me I need to go to detox. I was like, what's that? What's that? Some gay shit? She's like, no, because you can die. I'm like, you can't die. I'm just fucking partying. You just get a bad hangover. And it's like, no, dude, you can die. So I went to detox for the first time. It's a weird thing to think about that, like, 5 years down the road, I'm like, I used to wake up at like 4 p.m. and be like hungover from coke and fucking getting hammered, and now I'm waking up at 8 a.m. and I'm like, I slept in today. I feel bad. But I guess I've been in LA now, going on 8 months, and I think I've made a good name for myself in terms of where I stand in the comedy community at my level. I try to be social. I try to be very friendly. I think this time here has made me a better person. I've gone out of my way to make friends. I've learned that if I ever achieve any success in comedy, all I want to do is be a nice person and help other people to reach their peak, because that's what people have done for me. And I'm so happy to see so many people that have been good to me achieving these high accolades and seeing success and being happy. I'm surrounded by people who are just successful and good and good people. Malik B has become Brian Callen's main road opener, and he deserves the fuck out of that shit. Chappelle Lacey is getting all the recognition he deserves. I'm trying to think of who else I really like. So many people. Dylan Sullivan, who's going to be on tomorrow, is opening for Bobby Lee. just great people and funny people getting opportunities, that it fills me with hope that because before I got out here, there was all this like, oh, LA is filled with, it's a bunch of woke people trying to tear down comedy. And like, I see some of that, but for the most part, it's just people who are working hard are achieving shit. And it's nice to see that. It's nice to see people who deserve this shit, who I just know to the core are good people who just want to achieve their dreams, are going out and doing it. So it makes me happy. And I think the point of it is like 5 years ago, I couldn't see myself doing anything, let alone flying into a place, not knowing anybody and assimilating into a community and making myself kind of a fixture. I have a hard time giving myself credit for anything, but I think if I've done anything right, it's like I've met some great people, and I think I've gotten a lot better at comedy. I make people laugh. I write decent jokes, and that's all I'm out here to do. But I just wanted to shout those people out. I guess the main thing, I went to Vegas to do some shows. It was fucking amazing. It was so much fun. I went to the Bay Area. Vegas took the cake though. Because every time I've been to Vegas before, I guess this is where I'll tie in something funny. Every time I've gone to Vegas before, it's been a horrible shit show. And my friend Alex Kahn has a joke about how people are like, Vegas is crazy. And he's like, no, you're just crazy and you come to Vegas. Like, you could say that about anywhere. Like, if you did coke in Minnesota, like, you could say that Minnesota was crazy. And it's really true. I mean, Vegas is a different fucking place. It's very different. But this was the first time I had spent 3 days in Vegas, and I wasn't horrified that I was going to die at the end of the 3 days. The shows were really raucous and rowdy at bars and stuff, but the comics there were so fucking nice. Weird comics, weird dudes, but very, very friendly. And the crowds were crazy loud and shit, but they paid. People were friendly. The comics have a dedicated scene. It was very nice. But it was interesting from the outside being like, this is going to be kind of a shit show and I'm going to hate it. I loved it. I loved that 3 days in Vegas. I did a show for about 35 people in the chapel of a swingers hotel, and it was fantastic. It was so great. My opening joke was, I am so happy that I get to do comedy in a chapel where men have come to repent for their sins after wife swapping with their neighbors. And I go, I would Purell your hands after sitting on these pews because I'm sure people have came on them. Apparently this hotel, you can rent the whole thing out for $8,500 and just do what the fuck you want there. The whole hotel. And it was a dope hotel. It looked like fucking, like the Addams Family made a hotel. Just a bunch of like crazy, like not steampunk shit, because that would be horrible. Just kind of like culty witch shit. But it was a lot of fun. So I'll tell a story about Vegas. I turned 21 years old in Vegas. At the time I had a girlfriend. I went down with this other kid and his girlfriend, and we decided to do 21-year-old Vegas shit. I opted to just go get drunk, and people wanted to do other things, so we ended up going to Spearmint Rhino, which is like, I guess it's like the Ferrari dealership of strip clubs. It's like a fucking, like, there are beautiful women everywhere. Like, there are 5 beautiful women per one dude. And so we walked in, and it was like that scene in 300 where there was that like kind of fucking disgusting party in the tent with like all the really like deformed, weird, mythical creatures that the Persians owned. It was like that, just big fat dudes getting lap dances from gorgeous young girls. So I walk in with my girlfriend. The cover charge is $100. My buddy's girlfriend was 18, and it's a 21 plus club. She had a fake ID, so she's all stoked that she got in. And we get there, and my girlfriend at the time gets me a lap dance. And I guess she asked the guy to find a girl that looks like her. So this girl comes up who sort of looks like her, but not really. I'd never had a lap dance. I'd never been to a strip club. And so I sit down. She sits down across from me. And then this girl just comes up to me and is like, hey, you want to dance? And I'm like, oh my God. And, fucking little down home Utah Pete. I was horrified. Got a boner instantly because that's what you do when you're scared and you're a little kid. So I had a hard on, very confused hard on. Girl sits on my lap and then she starts giving me a dance. And through the dance, it's like 2 minutes. I think it's like $40 for a dance. She goes, do you like naturals? And I was like, I guess. And then she slaps me in the face with her tits. Like, just like, that's a move, I guess. She just starts fucking, keep in mind her tits are as big as mine. Like, she maybe had she had a muscular B cup. Like a strong B. They could fill it out, but like it wasn't doing anything. And then I remember through this lady's arms, I could see my friend, chain smoking with a girl giving him a lap dance. His girlfriend who's 18 and just doe-eyed staring at me like this, like just grinning from ear to ear, like she had never seen anything. And then I see my ex-girlfriend just trying her hardest to not look in my direction because she's so, and I'm like, this is going to be adulthood. It's just somebody looking at me smiling, a friend doing nothing about the situation, and a girlfriend just completely ignoring me while I do other things. And then later that night, I got into a fight with the ex-girlfriend, and the dude got into a fight with his girlfriend, and we ended up walking the strip. We stayed at Circus, which is 10 years ago. That was cool. But 20 years ago, I guess. But we found roaches in our room, and I believe I paid $15 for the night. So that should tell you all you need to know. So we got boozed up. We took half an ecstasy pill. I had never rolled before. I don't think it hit. It might have. It sure did later that trip when we took it again. But we walked then to Blue Sapphire, which is the biggest strip club in the world. And it was just the friend and I. And we go in there and fight with the girlfriend is going on. And I remember talking to her on the phone. It was 3 a.m. and maybe 2 a.m. And she's talking to me and she's like, you're at a deck. And then she goes, we're going to go to Thunder Down Under. And I go, it doesn't work that way. That's a show. Like it's 2 a.m. I was like, all right, well, let's go to the strip club. And I've never been a womanizer. So I was just kind of like, let's go see bitches, like just like a nice young man. That's at the core. Even when I was a terrible person, I was still a nice young man. And so we go in there. I'm a nice young man, and a girl came up. She was not pretty, and she goes, do you know how to dance? And I was like, oh no, I'm okay. I remember just the look of disappointment on her face. Sorry, like I fucking, I don't like, you're ugly. And then another woman came up. She was probably in her 30s, and she sits down on my lap, starts talking to me. She's really cool. If I was on ecstasy, like if it was hitting, that's when it started to hit, but I was also very drunk. So she's talking to me, and I think she gave me a dance. I don't remember, but I remember she was telling me how polite I was and how usually 21-year-olds who come into the club are pieces of shit. And I was like, yeah, I don't think I can be a piece of shit. Like, I know you're prettier than I am. And I know that you're like, if we, this is supposed to be a sexual experience. And if that were happening, you would dominate me. So like, I'm not going to pretend like I can fuck or something. So then it goes black. I wake up the next morning and I'm like, what happened? So my friend tells me, oh, you talked to that lady for like 3 hours. And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, what'd you do? He's like, I got a lap dance from the same girl. And I was like, did she try to charge you? And he's like, no, I think she liked me. And I was like, you got a lap dance for 2 hours? And he was like, yeah. I was like, how much did you pay her? He's like, $20. So I do remember him chain smoking and looking so bored, getting a lap dance from this like beautiful Asian woman, just sitting back like he was just watching Wheel of Fortune reruns, just fucking and like just so bored, and this woman putting in 110% trying to get his dick hard, and him just being like, nah, it's not doing it for me. So I guess she did that for 2 hours. But I talked to this woman for 3 hours. We just talked. I got the one dance that I remember. I was like, did we do anything? He's like, no, you guys just talked about her life. And I was like, her life? He's like, yeah, you gave her some advice. And I was like, was she weird? And he's like, no, she was really cool. And I guess at one point she kept like hinting at wanting to go home with me or back to my hotel. She was like, I don't know what I'm doing after this. And I was like, you should just go back to school. Like I was just like fucking, like I was just spitting 21-year-old stupid knowledge. So then I woke up and my eye started to hurt, and I get ulcers in my eyes. It's just like a little weird, it's like a sty almost, but it's worse. It just feels like if you got a scrap of metal in your eyeball and you couldn't get it out. It's the worst thing in the entire world. So I woke up, and this was before I knew what it was, and my eye was all fucked up. So I'm driving, and we were driving to San Diego. And so we're driving, and I get there, and I'm like, do I have stripper eye? Is this like my penance for going to get a stripper and like semi-cheating on my ex-girlfriend by having another woman sit on my lap with the intention of like maybe getting more dances from her? And so I get there, and I go to the optometrist, and I tell him the whole story. I'm like, I might have had a butthole in my face. I don't know. I don't know the science. Like, I don't know if this is pink eye. And he's like, no, I think you just have an ulcer. And I was like, is it stripper eye? And he's like, I don't think that's a thing. I was like, all right, well, I'm very paranoid and hypochondriac, so got drops, but it was just funny as shit to, and then we did ecstasy later that trip for the first time, which now I found out was acid. I think it was acid mixed with ecstasy. I was tripping fucking balls. And later on when I did ecstasy more, I realized you don't hallucinate shit on ecstasy. And we were in a condo that had all these pictures and stuff, and I kept looking at the pictures. There was one with like boats on waves, and the waves were moving, and I could see like people on the boats, and I was like, oh, that's cool. And then I'd move to the next picture, and it was like hot air balloons, and the hot air balloons were going in there, and I was like, oh, that's a nice scene going on. I just remember having the best conversations ever with these people I was with, and I remember completely cutting loose and being able to like just making them laugh, and that's when I realized I should at some point pursue comedy. Funny enough, I had this weird fucking epiphany mid just so fucked up. If I could cut loose, that was when I shined. Too bad I can't transfer it to the stage because I'm not funny, you know. I'm kind of funny. So I did a show back home in Salt Lake. My family came. It's been very interesting to speak with my family as of late. My dad has always been vocally very supportive, especially after I went to rehab. He's been around. I have like kind of a weird relationship with my mom, or have had, where we're kind of like awkward, but she's always been incredibly sweet to me. I don't know why we have like kind of awkward rapport, but she, rightfully so, was worried about me for a long time because I didn't really do a bunch of shit. But after this weekend, she's always been supportive of me doing comedy. She's always thought I should do comedy, but she got worried about me financially. And then I did this show. She's come to every show that I've done in Salt Lake, which shout out to Free Kittens. The show that I did is fucking so fun, so much fun. And she texted me and said, I really think you have the ability to be famous. You're so good at this. Keep going. I'm very proud of you. And I was like, oh shit, I don't know how to accept this. This is very nice. So I'm at that point in my life, which is strange, but also there's a bunch of dumb shit going on. I guess that's why I wanted to do a solo episode, was just to talk about what's going on with my life. LA has been a big test. Totaled my car. Comedy's fucking, it's hard out, you know, it's hard if you let it get to you. But like if I didn't enjoy what I did, I feel like I don't know why people do it if they don't feel like it's their passion, because it is such a kind of tumultuous road, and it doesn't feel like work if you're into it, but if you're just trying to do it because your agent tells you to, I don't get why you would do it, because there's no real payoff if you're not in it for the love of the writing and the laughs and being on stage. Malik really helped me out because I was kind of freezing up on stage for a minute after I did Friends and Family at the store, which was terrifying. I don't know why it was terrifying. It was like an almost sold out original room. Was that like 200 people? Yeah. Yeah. So it had to have been like 120 people maybe. And because like a couple of the back rows were empty. And I got on stage, and I think it was my first time being on stage in the OR. I've only been in the belly room. And just like it hit me all at once that I was on that stage where so many of the people who I idolize have been, and so many people who I consider so much better than me, and the world would also consider better than me, but like people, my peers who are just like so polished and good, just it got to me, and I told my jokes, and I think I had a good set. It was great. I got laughs and whatever, but it's just such a different feeling. And then for a minute, I just froze up on stage a couple of times, and Malik told me, he's like, dude, you just got to remember to have fun. And since then, it's been so much easier. I don't know why it takes somebody just saying that to you, Frida. But that being said, I don't know why the fuck you would do this if you weren't just, this is your purpose. So that's the weird part, is just finding out like this is what I'm supposed to do, which I've known that since the second I got on stage. But it's just a reinforcement of it. Even when it sucks, I still want to do it more than anything. And I still feel like I have to. Yeah, I totaled a car here. I had to buy a car. Very strange. Assume a lot of different responsibilities that I didn't think I would have to. And then I'm going through a divorce, which is... LA is one of those places where if you don't have everything together before you come out here, it'll really test you. It'll expose all of your insecurities, and it'll eat you alive. And I feel like that's what it did to my relationship. I had my plan hatched before I came out here. I had money saved. And I'm not going to get too much into it other than like, it's very, the woman I'm still married to and I'm getting divorced to is one of the best people I've ever met in my entire life, and people expect me to dislike her. I'm never going to. She's one of the best people I've ever met in my entire life. I love her very much. I'm always going to care about her. We're not having a rough or angry separation or divorce. She's been very kind and fair. I think we both did the best that we could with what we had. And after the fact, I'm not sure if we'll ever be friends, if she'll allow that, because you can only be kind enough, or you can only be so kind in a situation like this and have it go a long way, because the fact is I broke her heart. And it's a shitty thing. It's terrible. I feel like a bad person, but I'm just trying to, I didn't prioritize myself throughout that process. And, in that I, tried to do all of this stuff for her that is just, you can't be happy if you're not happy with yourself. And, it just became a dynamic in the relationship that wasn't working out. But that being said, there's a lot of stuff that I could be looking at right now and thinking my life is terrible and but I feel better than I've ever felt, in terms of, I think I'm very depressed. I'm very sad, but it's stuff that I know she'll be fine. She's one of the smartest, most resourceful people I've ever met. And I know I'll be fine. It just feels strange because I'm almost 29 years old, and I feel like I'm hitting my stride for the first time. I feel like an adult for the first time. My family trusts me for the first time, I think. Like with their whole Like my mom, I think, was just scared that I wasn't going to do something. And finally, at this point, I feel like I don't know, like I just freaked her out for so long because I was so erratic. And I think she was just fucking waiting for the call that I was dead for a really long time, which is just not that, it's not that crazy to say because I was doing so much stupid shit. And now I think she's just able to like lay off and be like, finally I can chill. But yeah, I guess the point of me saying that is it feels nice to be in a position where I've gone through all this crazy shit, and the last thing I want to do is go get fucked up, and that's a weird thing to say. This isn't a sobriety podcast. I love people who do drugs because they provide me with amazing stories. And also, I wish I could do drugs. I wish I were better at them. I can't even bring myself to do CBD because I'm just like, I don't want the negative reaction in case there is a negative reaction. I have no drive to do drugs anymore, which also kind of makes me depressed. Because like I wish, like I talk to my friends who are sober and they're like, oh man, I can't believe you don't have a hard time not relapsing. And I'm like, I'm too scared. I'm too fucking pussy now to even like eat a donut. Like I'm not going to fucking go get drunk. Like that doesn't make any sense to me. I'm such a bitch that like if I see like pasta, I'm like, oh, I can't because then I'll have to like it's other like less invasive stuff makes me feel terrible. So if I were to do something that drastic to my body, it would just, I'm so stuck in my routine of health and fitness and taking care of myself that I wouldn't be able to do it. I'm just so obsessive. And it's nice. It's also weird to think about because I used to drink or do a drug or both every fucking day. God, I fucking lived in Seattle for a minute. And I say a minute, I mean 2 months I lived in Seattle. I was like, I'm out of here, and I'm fucking 19. And I was like, Dad, fuck you, but help me pay rent. And so like I went to, I've always loved it. I said, fuck you, Dad. But I decided I was going to live in Seattle. My brother lived there. And God, I'm so lucky I never tried heroin. That was the place. If I was going to try heroin, that is where you get heroin. I started smoking weed there. But I also had an Adderall prescription. And I remember when I moved back to Salt Lake, I decided to just leave. Like I couldn't sleep. So I was like, I'm going to drive back and like pack all my shit. And I took I had a prescription to like 10 milligram whatever the normal XR release prescription of Adderall is. I took 10 of those and then I drank a large Red Bull and just started driving, and I was like, I'm not feeling it, you know what I mean? Like I'm just still like fucking like in my head. And then I remember getting to Utah, and I was talking to a girl, and I went to a party, and I smoked weed, and I got higher than I've ever been. And that was like, I was like, this is scary. And then I didn't even think about the fact that I had taken 10 Adderall and not slept. Adderall is fucking crazy. I think I had like a few instances where I almost had a heart attack or was having a heart attack and then just kind of ignored it and powered through. I took a couple Adderall before our road trip again, and then I took pre-workout, and then I drank a big Red Bull again. And then like through the drive, I started getting these brain zaps and kind of like I was just kind of like having these weird, and I pulled over and I called my dad. I was like, Dad, I don't know what the fuck is going on. He's like, what'd you do? And I was like, I drank a bunch of Red Bull. He's like, why did you do that? And I was like, I'm going to make myself throw up. He's like, yeah, that's probably a good idea. Like, you fucking retard. Like, what are you doing? And so I made myself throw up. And then I just took a nap on the side of the road. And then I got up and I was like, I'm fine. Retrospect, probably should have gone to the hospital and gotten an EKG. If you take pre-workout, do you take pre-workout?
No.
Yeah. If you take pre-workout, I feel like you're fucking stupid. Like, it's just this slew of chemicals and like creatine and fucking, I guess creatine could be fine. It's this slew of chemicals and like speed and caffeine that they just like aren't able to, like the FDA doesn't even approve of most of the shit that they have in there. I think some of the stuff is like derivative of meth.
Jesus.
And what else do they have? They sneak like little metabolic steroids and some of that shit. I took one that every time I took it, I was like, am I gonna die? Like, is this what's happening? Another one will just make you shit your pants. Like, so people who take it and they're like, I'm healthy. I'm like, oh no, you're not. You're not at all. You're just eating like carcinogens. That's all that is. Speaking of, fucking Impossible Burger is getting pegged for fucking causing liver cancer.
Ooh.
Yeah. Carcinogens in Impossible Burgers. That's my favorite thing is when vegans go eat at Carl's Jr. And I'm like, you're still supporting the machine. Like that's, you're like, I'm vegan. It's like, yeah, but also, no, you're not. Because you may as well have just gone and eaten a burger. Like, fucking people are so stupid, just cannibalizing themselves. There's like all that trans stuff in sports right now. Like trans women want to play women's sports and they're dominating in these sports. They took the female logo off of the Always pads because people are like it's not just women who, and it's like, yeah, it is. That's a female product. You can't do that. Like, that's so fucking stupid. Just shut the fuck up. You really need it to reflect that symbol every time you see it. Makes you go, I feel not included. It's like, fuck. So goddamn stupid. It's so anti-woman, if anything, which is so funny because it's like feminists at first were like on board with trans rights and now they're like, but wait, like, I don't know. I'm not even like a woke guy, and it's just, it takes nothing to see. Like, it's still, in a lot of cases, it's just dudes trying to take over women, even if they're post-op. That's my little rant on that. I guess I'll launch into one more story. Let me think about it. Jesus. I've had a long career of being a piece of shit. And even, a little bit after I stopped drinking and doing drugs, I was still a piece of shit. And it's interesting because a lot of people complain about how mean LA is, and like I said, I think it's made me a better person because it's taught me I've made my best friends here. I've had a breakthrough, and I used to think I didn't have a purpose in life, and then I came here and I was immediately greeted with like more or less open arms once people figured out I was funny, but then also once people figured out I wasn't a dick. That's all I want to do is just not be a dick and be funny. Put that on my gravestone. Let's see. Fucking crazy stories. God, the first time I did cocaine. Okay. I was straight edge for about 5 years. So from like 15 to 20, I was straight edge. And all of my friends knew I was straight edge. And I hung out with people who did drugs and drank and things like that. And then I just decided, they call it breaking edge. And I decided to break edge and smoke weed. So I smoked weed. And then it got into like, oh, I want to drink. But before I drank, I saw my friends doing coke, and I was like, I want some. That looks fun. And they were like, are you sure you want to do that? And I remember I was going to buy a new car the next day. So I was like, yeah, I'll just not sleep, and then I'll do coke, and then I'll go meet up with my dad and like have him take my car so I can go, or take my car to the dealership so I can get the new car from this guy. So I had taken out a loan and all that shit. And no, I was trading in my car, and it was in Ogden, which is 2 hours away from Salt Lake. So I stayed up all night doing cocaine. And I remember, if you ever do cocaine, or if you've ever done cocaine, the best way I can describe it, it's exhilarating, but so depressing. Like, there's just this, like, it's this rush, like you're driving down a desert road in like a stolen Trans Am, because make no mistake, it's an 80s drug. Like you're driving down the road in a Trans Am that you stole from a guy with like a popped collar. And then the Tron soundtrack is playing in the background. The sun is rising or setting. The road is completely empty, and there's a toothless Reno hooker blowing you. That's because it's mostly horrible, but it feels kind of good. And it's so empty, just so empty. Like that's the emptiest you'll feel, is doing cocaine. At least ecstasy, you feel great. But coke is just like everything in you is telling you this is bad. Like you are cooking your brain. And you're talking to people and they're talking over you and you're talking over them and you're talking about nonsense. Like I had friends who were rappers. If you're a rapper in Salt Lake, plus or minus a few, there are a couple of people who are really good. My friend Augustus King, Malcolm is his name. He's doing it real cool. But there are a couple other rappers who are like, I'm grinding. And it's like, no, dude, you're not. You live with your parents still. You can't say you're grinding. If you're a rapper in Salt Lake, there's like five of them who are okay, and they also have day jobs. And so they're, positive members of society. But I remember like listening to people freestyle that night at a party. Just white dudes freestyling. If you're a white dude rapping at a party, you need to die. You need no two ways about it. If you are between the ages of 19 and 30 years old and you are spitting bars at a party and white, you need death. And that's it. I don't wish you dead. I don't want you dead. You just need it. You need it. That's the only genocide I want to happen, is rapping white dudes. God, that's why I didn't become a rapper. I know I already gentrify everything I walk into. So like, why would I want to put a Starbucks inside of the genre of music that I love? But I just remember listening to these people rap, and in the middle of that, thinking, I'm meeting my dad in 3 hours, and I am on cocaine listening to these horrible human beings rap and calling themselves the N-word, and that was the saddest I've been probably to date. Some sad shit. Cocaine is sad. Cocaine is sad. Molly's sad, but at least Molly makes you happy. Cocaine does not make you happy. Cocaine makes you aggressively abrasive and excited, but not happy. You'd be excited about killing somebody. That doesn't mean you're happy. If I could describe people on cocaine, it would be aggressive rapist. Like that's the mood of cocaine. It's just wide eyes and hey, like it's just fucking, you don't know. There's no medium. It's just flatline. Like it's just a lot of enthusiasm, but not necessarily good feelings. I thought I was gonna die on cocaine in Vegas once too. I remember I was with a girl. I think I've told this story too. I kind of saved this guy from a pool party. We were at a VIP pool party at fucking Encore Beach Club, and he was all fucked up, and I dragged him back to his cabana and asked if he needed anything. He's like, yeah, come to VIP with us tonight. Da, 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 da. And so we went back to his hotel, and they it was me and this girl, and they brought out just a snowball of cocaine and put it on the table, and they're like, yeah, help yourself. To me, not to the girl. So I did a couple of lines, and I was like, you do them and you're like, woo, 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 like just fucking ready. And I was drinking Bombay. Like, I don't know why I decided to take shots of Bombay that day, but I did. And then two things went wrong. I was with those dudes. We're bonding. We're vibing. Dudes from Boston. They're teaching me all this stupid Boston lingo. If you have a Boston accent, you're disgusting. They're teaching me all this stupid Boston lingo, and my ex is a terrible person. And there were a couple of girls there. One of them was in like this crazy one-piece bathing suit and looked like a slut. She was very nice. And then I started worrying I was having a heart attack. And so I was like, am I having a heart attack? And she's like, I'm a nurse. I can check your pulse. And I was like, oh, okay. And then my ex was in the bathroom getting ready with the other girls. And then she walks out and sees me getting my pulse checked by this girl. And she's like, what the fuck is going on? And I was like, she's checking my pulse because I think I'm dying. And she's like, she's holding your hand. So there was that. We had to diffuse that. And I'm like, okay, that's strike one. They're still being cool. Strike two. Everybody's in the bathroom getting ready, all the girls, including my ex. My ex says, oh, I have to pee. So she's sitting there and she pees. And then about 3 minutes later, she opens the bathroom door. They go back in. The whole suite smells like shit. So what had happened was she peed and then decided to just take a shit in a stranger's hotel room. And for whatever reason, this bitch dropped an atomic bomb that filled the entire room and ruined my friendship with these dudes who I had just vibed with. And from that point on, we didn't speak to them. They would not talk to us. So she shit-bombed the room to the point where they didn't want to be our friends anymore. I don't think they ever liked her. They liked me. But we went to VIP, and I just remember them so strongly ignoring us because they were sick of us. I'm like, see, this is why I got to be on my own. These bitches fucking, these bitches bringing down my goddamn style. We got 1 minute?
Roughly, yeah.
Yeah. Well, all I wanted to say was give a little catch up on my life. I guess that went faster than I anticipated. I hope it wasn't boring. Next episode, I'm going to have Dylan Sullivan. Then I have Malik B coming in, one of my good friends. Dylan's also one of my good friends. I want to thank everybody for listening to this podcast. It means a lot to me. I'm going to be more consistent. I'm going to do an episode every week. And thank you to the good young men of Third Wheel Studios. What is it, Fuckboy Hotline or something?
Fuckboy Helpline.
Fuckboy Helpline. Yeah, thank you guys for listening. If you have any questions or comments, please email me. It's blackoutpod@gmail.com. Send me your dick pics or whatever the fuck you want to send, or telling me I'm a racist, or I don't know. I talked about trans people in this episode, so maybe a fucking... But yeah, thank you guys for listening. Thank you to my mom and my parents and all the people who have supported me here, Chappelle and Dylan and for putting me up at friends and family and all that shit. And keep blacking out and go fuck yourself. Thanks.